Henshin a go-go, baby. What's good, guys? Yo, I have not said that in so long. Anyway, that was like a pure nostalgia, like brain blast for me. I got a couple questions about rerun banners, and I thought it was pretty coincidental that I also happened to watch a video from Flossin on You. Shout out to Flossin, by the way. Made a video this morning talking about this morning being my morning, not your morning, but you know what I mean. Made a video this morning pretty much giving his opinions on rerun banners and why he thought that they were never coming from a good place, right? Like they're always at a bad time, which in Star Rail, which was one of the references that he brought up, I do agree with that. I think that reruns coming in Star Rail have always been at a pretty bad time, but in Zenless, I don't think I agree. I want to explain why I don't agree, but I do want to say that his mentality behind it absolutely valid, and that I agree with, right? The sentiment I agree with. I even left that as a comment down below. So if you guys want, I'll leave the link to his own video down below in the description if you want to go check that out for yourselves. But as of right now, talk about why they're good. If we were to come over into what we have during signal search, we have Astra. I swear I was gonna call this girl Evelyn because like Astra and Evelyn, but it's just Astra. We have Ellen, which is going to be our rerun banner. We have the weapons, all right, Elegant Vanity, and then Deep Sea Visitor. But we're going to talk about these in particular, boom and boom. What I want to get at here is the fact that Astra, while being an amazing support unit, is not a must pull, and she is close. I understand that we can stress this. I understand that given the usual nature of the gacha community, a lot of what we perceive as too good to be true or like really good, and you know, everyone wants it. And even myself, I compare Astra to Robin in Star Rail or to Ruan Mei in Star Rail. You can really take your pick. It doesn't matter which one, but those characters are borderline must pulls. They do something for your account that is beyond any other support character in the game, and it makes it so that you really want this character, and when you don't have this character, you notice the difference between others with them and others without. Right now, Astra is doing that, and I predict this. I said this was going to be one of my biggest fears. I said that in this is a previous video, I think a few videos back, I mentioned that Astra coming into Star Rail, being what she is, allowing you to have team-wide buffs and allowing you to essentially enter the dual DPS meta, which is something that we didn't really have access to before as easily. I'll clarify that in just a bit, but having the ability to do that with a character by one button press and then you're done, right? Same thing with Robin, one button press and then you're done. You don't have to worry about a lot going into the game. I understand that this is a very hard situation for any player if they were looking at Astra and any other character besides Ellen. This is an easy pull. We should not be talking about this in regards to the rerun opportunity being bad at all, especially given the fact that Ellen came right after Miyabi, which Flossin, you did mention that. I agree. Ellen coming right after Miyabi being the strongest character we have in the game right now and sharing an element. While Frost isn't exactly ice, they essentially share the same element, right? When things are weak to ice, they're weak to frost, vice versa. And here's why I think this is good. I do believe that Ellen coming right after Miyabi was the perfect time for Ellen to show up. Why? The reason I think that is because Miyabi was a character that you had to make that strong decision on, and she was here for a long month. Actually, I think it was 5 weeks exactly that we got to keep Miyabi and Harumasa here on the same banner, one of them being for free, so we really didn't have to pull for him unless you went for the weapon. But we got Makara's whatever, the event weapon. No, I didn't get it because I just didn't do the event. That's on me, but I'm sure you guys did it, which means you have that amazing attack type weapon that goes on a lot of people, especially Harumasa. It's great for him, second best in slot, yeah? Having all of this stuff happen and then giving you the ability to get Ellen, this was not for any new player. Ellen was not for a free-to-play player. Ellen was not for a new player. This happening is for players like myself who already have Ellen. Day one, we already pulled Ellen. And I might have, at this time, I definitely did, pull M1. Ellen being here now, which unfortunately I'm just not going to be able to get her because I lost every single 50-50 possible. It is what it is. There's only so much I want to spend on the game, right? I want M2. M2 would set Ellen up to be able to compete or keep up with the current state of the meta, especially given the fact that you know your scissor cancels and your combos and team rotations and who you're playing on the team with Lighter or Astra, things like that. So right now, any player that would have been able to pick up an M1 or M2 of Ellen, you're sitting pretty. You're really good. This is why this rerun is great for you. Or if you had M0 Ellen and you, for whatever reason, skipped Miyabi, now this allows you to pick up her weapon. Let's say you've been playing Ellen this entire year, no signature weapon. Well, we all know Ellen's signature weapon is really working good. A quarter's worth of crit rate, which is amazing for her, and ice damage bonus that's equivalent to, or a little bit equivalent to, having your disc 5. It's 25% instead of the 30-something% that you're going to be able to get. And then you're also getting crit rate, 20% extra crit rate, if I'm not mistaken. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, so this is essentially an almost 50% crit rate boost just for having the weapon. That's huge, okay, when it comes to making your build. And this is why I believe reruns are amazing for Zenless in particular. And as of right now, based off what we can see, because I believe Qingyi is next, this is not a bad thing. Where does this come into play though when it is a bad thing? This comes into play whenever you have a situation like this signal search. And again, something coming up next is it's Evelyn and Qingyi, right? If I'm not mistaken. So it should be Evelyn here instead of Astra, and then Qingyi here instead of Ellen. This turns into one of those situations where I know that the meme is being thrown around, but I promise you this is quite literally the definition. It is pure greed. You are greedy as a new player or free to play with limited resources. You skipped Qingyi as a early investor. Start of the game, you got in really early, 1.1, 1.0, and you decided to skip Qingyi. Why did people skip Qingyi early on? Well, way back in the day when Qingyi first got revealed or first got launched on her banner, most players, because at that time Qingyi had the lowest pull rate in the game, Qingyi was skipped because we didn't need her, quote unquote. And I say that with the most disgust, the most disdain possible. Way back in the day, dude, we had Anby. We didn't need Qingyi. Unless you pulled Juyu in, you don't need Qingyi. And even if you did pull her, you don't need her. Koleda, Lycon was just as great. In fact, Koleda was better than Qingyi. All Qingyi did was stay on the field, mash basic attack, and then give you an insane stun damage multiplier that didn't matter because we were killing everything in Shiyu anyway because Shiyu was too easy, allegedly based off the experience on launch. Shortly after, all of these characters go away and we get introduced to new characters, i.e. the anomaly meta. Well, now all of a sudden everyone misses Qingyi, and players don't have Qingyi and they skip Qingyi because they wanted Jane or they wanted Bernice or whoever else came out that just happened to have big tits. And this is where the problem came into play. So skipping Qingyi and then pulling everything else to get to this point, you are now in a situation, hypothetically, let's say that a player skipped Qingyi and they grabbed everything anomaly, right? So they now have a fully invested anomaly team. Maybe you also have Miyabi. You are now at a point where you should not be looking at Evelyn or Sanby at all. And this is what I mean when I say like this is a greedy thing. Zenless is one of those games, similar to all gacha games really, but you really need to plan what you're doing. Unfortunately, Zenless is, in my experience, the most expensive game when it comes to building characters. It costs way too much resources, Denny's, whatever the case may be, in order to properly or fully build out a character, not including disk drives because those are purely RNG based. I'm specifically talking about the character from, where is it at right here? Building out a character from all of this, level 60, your skills A through F, trying to get your talents to 11, 11, 9, 9, 10, whatever the case may be. All of this stuff is way more expensive. The weapon also included in that, right? It gets way too expensive to build out a character. So when you have a situation like this and you're looking to build out your team, which we can actually take you guys to right over here. She restarted. Awesome. I didn't even realize that it restarted. But so now this puts you in a situation where you're able to build out a couple different teams. And Deadly Assault requires you to have 3 teams, but Deadly Assault is like the newest in game. I don't expect a player to be here. However, everyone in the game has a pure and strong, I believe this is the strongest free-to-play team in the game. Harumasa, Anby, and Nicole. You have a strong free-to-play option. Boom, you're done. Now you would have determined whether or not you have a limited character, right? Because you would, by this point in the game, you have the ability to get 3 or 2. You at least get 2 limited characters and 1, or my bad, not limited, 2 standard banner characters and then 1 weapon potentially. So in the event that this happens, what you're aiming for is somewhere along the lines of Lycan, Koleda, or best bet, best case scenario, Soldier 11. Now in the event you didn't get Soldier and maybe you like Grace, because my free to play got Grace, you can still work with that. So let's take the worst case scenario here. You end up getting Grace. That means that you should have made a decision between Jane or Bernice or whatever the case may be. Smart, quote unquote, way that you would have went about this would have been grabbing Bernice. Boom. And now you have a team that works with an off-field unit to be able to give you a lot of disorders, a lot of high damage, still benefit Grace, allowing you to focus on your combos or your dash cancels with Grace because she is a dash canceling character. This then turns into, well, how do I feel like my support? And now you could have pulled Astra. Astra would have greatly benefited you, or you could have gotten greedier and grabbed Miyabi. Miyabi in turn would have been replacing your Grace, otherwise eliminating one of the characters that you've already invested into. Now, I'm not saying don't pull Miyabi, but what I am explaining here is that how you decided to build out this team going from the beginning of the game, the middle of the game's launch to now, greatly influences how these, this is not supposed to be saved or whatever, I'll fix that later. This greatly influences how you're looking at your reruns. Qingyi is in my list, which you guys will see that later on this week or next week. Qingyi is like probably #1 in my list. I haven't fully orchestrated everything, but that character is like, if you don't have Qingyi, you're literally shooting yourself in both feet and cutting off one of your legs. I promise you, that character is beyond bonkers. Okay, we said it back then, and people still were like, "Oh no, you could skip her, just use Anby." And now here we are, months later, where so many players are like, damn, I should have got Qingyi. Oh man, when Qingyi, I wish I had a Qingyi. I can't use this team. Can you replace Qingyi with Anby? No, because they don't do the same thing. While yes, they're both giving you the stun, what Qingyi provides from an assortment of different build options and variety that she can bring to the team, as well as all the different teams that she properly or efficiently works on, all of this stuff is there. So you want these things. Qingyi coming into the game with Evelyn being right here is the perfect setup, because at any point in time, you can skip Evelyn, grab Qingyi, and you'll be good for the rest of the year. You cannot power creep that character. That character is not going to get power crept. Why? Because vertical investment is a thing, and at a base kit, they fucked up. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if Kate has released it or not, but you guys might want to ask Kate. Kate has a DPS Qingyi. Now, I personally don't agree with it because fuck him, but he has a DPS Qingyi. It is quite nasty. He's killing things in 30 seconds that he should not otherwise be killing because of what Qingyi's potential allows her to do. Taking a stunner and turning her into a DPS, she benefits herself. It's dumb. This character has things in her kit, the ability to allow her to do things with the team or without the team that other stunners cannot do. And this is why this character is so cracked. Now, there's a bunch of other reasons that I haven't named because I'm saving it for the rest of the video. Not this video, a different video, specifically about Qingyi. But I just want to let you guys know she's up there, okay? The variety, have a multitude of different builds that you can run, not maxing stuff out, and she still does exactly what she wants to do. It's crazy. If you are playing the game, you're coming up on your rerun, you need to be looking at what this character adds to value. You should be doing your research. You should be asking more questions from different creators, or if you don't like looking at creators, that's fine too. Just ask more experienced players who have a strong knowledge of the game and why things are the way that they are. Join discords, I don't care, do whatever you got to do. The point being is that you should be doing your due diligence to figure it out. Why they're coming at the times, or rather when they're coming during these times, is great. Stunner plus DPS, support plus DPS. This is giving players the opportunity to fill out the rest of their team. If we were to come back over here and let's say, again, we're looking at this team, yeah, and I'm picking out whatever it is, let's go about it the way that we were doing before, where we had Grace and we had Bernice. Okay, boom. I might have missed out on Astra, I don't know, or I'm using my Lucy here and this team is doing okay, but I wanted to do more damage. This is a situation where you absolutely pick up Astra, boom. And so obviously you would reorder this so that Astra will be in the front, but now you're done, right? You have a strong anomaly team that doesn't care about stun. It's going to be able to melt through things pretty fast, and then you can focus this team and build this team around fast disorders or strong disorders, whatever the case may be. You could also do something where you see me doing it up here with Miyabi, Seth, and Yanagi. Seth and Yanagi is one of the strongest cores in the game that I have a few videos on that kind of show you guys why this core is so strong. Seth being one of the most slept on characters, especially an A rank character. He's one of the most slept on characters in this game, and he is tier 0. Don't listen to anybody else telling you otherwise. This character is stupid. Like, if we're talking supports, this character is definitely up there. All right, some characters in tier 0 that do not need to be in tier 0, they're in tier 0 because public opinion. I swear to you, that's all it is. Seth is an amazing character. Pull as many copies of Seth as you can to get to M6, call it a day. Now, he's amazing because of anomaly. He also provides stuns, he provides shields, he gives an anomaly damage boost, and he has interrupts. There's a lot that Seth brings to the table, which is why a team like this perfectly works. But let's say that you did pull Yanagi, but no Miyabi. So now what you're able to do in a situation like this is now I can pick up, I don't know, let's go back with Grace. I don't really care for Grace like that, but not to say that I don't like Grace, but you guys kind of get what I'm going at here. But now you have a situation like this where, as much as I don't personally like this team because it's just hyper carry electric and you're not really taking advantage of disorders, you could use this, or you could get away with not having Grace, right? And let's say you pulled Bernice because tits and she's cool, boom, you're good to go. An off-field damage dealer that's going to be able to give you strong disorders, fast disorders, with Yanagi turning into a into your main DPS character. There are a multitude of different things that you could be doing here, but the point is to fill out the rest of your team. What's coming up right now is Evelyn, yeah, and this is kind of going to be as a perfect example of what I'm getting at. Let's say that you have Soldier 11. I swear I'm blind. I swear I have to be blind, bro. There she is. All right, you have Soldier 11. You do not have Lighter, but you have Colada. Boom and boom. And you've been using Lucy, or because these are two standard units, let's give you a little bit of grace. You have Astra. Now you're determining to pull between Qingyi and Evelyn. While yes, Evelyn and Astra make up an amazing comp, this is where you have to make that decision. Do you want a stronger DPS character that's going to give you a more future-proof in terms of like how these combos work, her kit, her attack type, whatever the case may be, right? Like she's a little bit more future-proof for the DPS era coming up, the second generation of DPS characters versus Soldier 11. Or do you want to keep banging it out with Soldier 11 because you're missing two key components here? One, lighter. Two, lighter. You could get Qingyi, and that would open up the door for other team comps now, so you can use Soldier 11, Coleta, and Astra. But then it's like, okay, great, I really don't have to pull Evelyn, but I could get Qingyi. What does Qingyi allow me to do? Well, let's just say that you did get Miyabi. You got super lucky and you got Miyabi. Well, now that I have Miyabi, but I'm missing Qingyi, and we got Harumasa for free. Well, now I could pull Miyabi, Qingyi, and where is my boy here? Harumasa. And this turns into one of the strongest teams in the game. Granted, you have to learn how to use it, but it's rewarding. High skill for it, incredibly high skill, high damage ceiling, but you get rewarded for learning how to play this team. All of this stuff is great for you. You have to mitigate your losses by maximizing your gains. I think that's the best way that I could explain that. Reruns happening when they happen, which again, as in right now, these aren't the worst things in the world. All these reruns happening and how they're doing it, it's not the worst thing in the world. And I haven't even talked about the weapons, but I feel like I've been here long enough. I think you guys get my point by now. Weapons also adding into this. As I said, you might have gotten Ellen but no weapon. Now you can pick up the weapon. You don't have to worry about the character, and you're, you know, a done deal. Or you skipped out on Astra's weapon, but you have a lot of this stuff because they gave us, like, just from the events and this whole little Astra patch that we've had so far, we have almost 2 pities worth of currency that they've given us. And I know that because I've used about 2 pities worth of free currency. I haven't spent for the last 2 pities that I lost. So it is what it is. That's where that is right now. But yeah, you could choose to get the weapon or not get the weapon. That's kind of all it is. I know I'm rambling. Today's kind of like my ramble on videos day and then turned it into a video, but it is what it is. That's going to be it for me today, guys. All right, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Reruns are good for now. A lot of these characters you can skip. You don't have to stress. I know people really want Yanagi. You should not be worrying about Yanagi. All right, if you're building into Evelyn, you don't really need to be worried about Yanagi unless we discover something that turns that particular team comp into like some absurd stuff, right? Or if for whatever reason Harumasa rolls around to a rerun, don't worry about Harumasa. Sanby, if you've already invested into your Harumasa, there's probably 0 reason for you to pick up Sanby. Not saying that she's not strong, not saying that she might not possibly be stronger, but now picking up Sanby requires you to run a completely different team. I'm telling you guys right now, this next generation of DPS characters is not the same thing that we've had before, right? Where Harumasa and Juyu are pretty close together, but you can kind of notice the similarities and differences at the same time. Whereas we have Miyabi, we have Miyabi and Ellen don't operate the same way, but they still give you an absurd amount of damage given the fact that you know how to use them. One is clearly easier to play than the other, but you go on from there. Bernice, completely different type of character. Yanagi, different type of character, still anomaly, still does a crazy amount of damage and benefits from anomaly attack and crit, which is really hard to build. So does Bernice, by the way, but whatever. If you spend more time investing in what you have, because that's just how Zenless is operating, especially being an action-based, skill-based game, you don't have to worry about rerun banners. Ending this video off, I am also, like, back to back, while I'm doing this, I'm going to talk about power creep, or the concept of power creep, because I saw all this stuff happen last week. I really did my best to stay away from it, but like the easiest way for me to say it, which some of you guys are saying some really ridiculous stuff, and I feel like this ridiculous stuff is coming from a place where, like, very bare bones. It's not coming from a place of I'm looking at what the game is offering and what the game is allowing me to do or not allowing me to do versus what I want the game to do, because I feel like the game is supposed to let me do it, even though it's clearly not letting me do it. But we'll talk about that in another video. Look forward to that this week. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Like the video, comment, subscribe, ask me any questions down below about reruns or characters or whatever the case may be. Smell you later. I don't know why, like, I did that and then, like, this was way down here. It is what it is. All right, bye.